do you believe that?
I mean, I have got creators and stuff here and not here, so I guess this is my better side. Or yeah, in showbiz and all, obviously people have a good angle and a bad angle.
I've always heard that, and I thought that's just a myth. It's like either you're pretty, I mean not pretty, but either you look good or not.
Right,
Like I'm just like,
No.
is there a good side? Because when you're looking at a person's
Are we
face,
live now?
yeah,
Okay,
we're going.
Okay. Awesome.
And again, I didn't want it to be like a formal, let's get into talking,
Right.
because that was one of the things I've realized of the experience I've gained so far in doing this is that the moment you say, go now,
Right,
it's like
right.
there's an immediate block.
Right.
I'm like, let it rip, let's just get into talking about something, and then if it carries on, it carries on, and we can edit the parts that we don't want.
Sure.
I prefer not to. But anyway, what I was going to say, yeah, about the, it's like, when you see a person's face, you're looking at the whole face, right? You're not looking at one side of it. So why are we being disingenuous while we're trying to pose for a picture? It never made sense to me.
Yeah, so see, it depends on the person, right? A lot
Yeah.
of people have a good side pose, and
Oh, it's the same pose. Everybody
right,
looks great.
Yeah, right. And then a lot of people, you would want to see them straight ahead.
Yeah.
But not everybody is like that. So
Yeah.
I guess like if you were looking at Jay Leno, you would I don't know, go either way. I wouldn't say which way.
Yeah. Because
So
of his big
everybody
jaw,
has
you
a
mean?
Like a Conan O'Brien or Jay Leno, those are like people who would suit one way or the other, and
Yeah.
then as opposed to
Maybe so.
like Jimmy Kimmel or somebody, they
Yeah.
would have like the full front view.
Guys who have always been interesting. As a guy, I'm not paying attention to their looks at all. Right? Like, anyway.
Right, it might be more
A few. So let's not say anything.
no, not saying men view things differently than
Oh, yeah.
women. Maybe.
Yeah.
Just
As
guessing.
radical as I thought that is, huh? Hey, so, you know what's funny is that as I was getting ready for this conversation, I was like, man, there's like butterflies in the stomach, right? Like they're like, and we've been talking about it for so long. Here's an Indian guy, and there's the Pakistani guy, or vice versa. And this being the Idea Sandbox podcast, the fundamental spirit of this podcast is that, we throw things in a sandbox and see where it goes. And I was always like discouraged to, not I, but as a mass of people, as I was growing up, we were discouraged to think about Pakistanis as the good people. They were always bad people.
Right.
Like, I grew up in a household where my dad used to say very, very, like, negative things about Muslim people, and Pakistanis were the worst. And never for once in my life ever grew up somebody saying, hey, you should listen to this person or that person who's from Pakistan. They're saying something that's, worthy of listening or whatever. So I'm thinking, okay, then you just kind of buy it. And I feel like at the moment, like, society is in like sort of that hypnosis in that sense that, hey, I should never talk to a Pakistani because, you become immediately gaslighted. Like, you're like, oh, you're a traitor.
Right.
Are you a traitor?
Right.
Why are you talking to this guy? And I think that's why I said to you when we were discussing this, having a chat like this is like, hey, we'll just have the chat. We'll see if it's fulfilling.
Sure.
And if it's trash, it's trash. But at least I felt like every time we spoke, you and me, we at least had a charitable conversation. Like, we could talk to each other and say, all right, I see your point for XYZ reasons. And I think that's the basis of a good conversation. I'm going to go on a rant really quick here.
No, that's
Hope
fine,
it's
that's
okay.
fine.
So I've been watching the External Affairs Minister, Jaishankar, I think Ramon is his name.
Okay.
Might be butchering it. Anyway, so I saw a thing last week. He tweeted, and I think he also, and I saw his video saying that we meaning India, will not engage with Pakistan until they stop the cross-border terrorism.
Right.
Period. Okay? Until they stop funding
Right.
the cross-border terrorism. So I'm thinking, why does this sound very familiar? Because it's the same line that's being spoken by every external affairs minister. By the way, you can curse.
No, that's fine.
There's no
I
limits to
will-
this. and so, like I said, if we have to talk about things passionately, I believe that you should just let your mind kind of let it free, right? If you feel you want to curse, curse. So anyway, he says that like, why is this? It gave me more resolve to think. I had to say that I think the time has arrived. Like we keep looking at the authorities who are in charge to find a reasonable humanitarian solution for any differences that we have between groups of people, and they keep continuing to doing brinksmanship. Like they never sit down in, like, let's say even a podcast format, like around a round table. Why not have the external? Why not televise these things, broadcast it, and have this kind of, okay, don't talk about national secrets, but clearly show us where the ideological divide is between India and Pakistan.
Right.
Right? Like,
Right.
why haven't we done that? Why is it so toxic and radioactive to do so? Right? Like, we should be able to, if you and me, being engineers in a different country, being as immigrants, not that we're equal to them or anything like that. I'm
Right,
just saying,
right.
as humans, we can interact.
Interact, right.
So let's say the Pakistani, foreign minister, Indian foreign minister, as humans, not as
Right.
dignitaries,
Right.
discuss their personal views
Right.
and televise it and say, all right, look, I think this is wrong and you think this is wrong, which is true. Let's have a debate of ideas and let's take it from there. Like, that would be a confidence building exercise, I feel.
Right.
Like, at least we're having a good faith conversation with each other. Who knows? Somebody else is probably pulling the strings. The military is probably pulling the strings and this and that. Like, and so at the very least, if they're not doing that, either they're lacking courage and conviction, or there's bigger factors at play. And I feel like it all kind of falls into our laps to, like, the grassroots laps to have these conversations and destigmatize these things. It's okay to talk to.
Right.
Anyway, that's my opening salvo.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to chew on over there. I mean, it's just, I have the L.K. Advani and that era
Yeah.
flashback as we talked about some of this, and how there is always...
How L.K. Albani is, how did that imprint
No, there's a
yourself?
whole the Musharraf passed away recently, right?
Yes.
The General Pervez Musharraf. So he has a mixed legacy of trying to start wars and also trying to go to India and start talks and
You mean he's kind of like personally wanted to start wars with India?
I mean Kargil, right? That
Was that his personal, like...
It was not his personal doing, but I guess because the military is one this entity, so I mean they did try to do that, right? In 99 or 98?
99, yeah.
99,
I was reading about it, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
So that did happen, right? And
But do you think it's entirely like a country invading another sovereign country?
no, they saw it as like a Siachen, Kargil, and strategic game where they could capture this thing and they would have a like a geographical advantage over their enemy, that sort of deal. So that's why they did it. They weren't meaning to have it evolve into a full scale invasion or
And then they expected the Indian side to kind of quietly just give in. Or
right,
something. Yeah.
right, something like that.
Okay.
So it's it's one of those things where
Just out of curiosity, how did they frame it in Pakistan media? How did you guys grow up learning about that?
I had no idea that it had happened.
Oh wow.
And then on the news, it was India and Pakistan have gone to war, and there was only one news channel at that time. It was, which is PTV,
Mm-hmm.
is Pakistan Television, and it's a very controlled,
Propaganda arm
yeah,
of the
pretty much,
government.
pretty much. So you only have sets of 10 pieces of this is going on in Kashmir. This is look what India did. Look what they did in Kashmir. Something, even if it's made up a lot of times, but and that's how it was. And then I remember either Nawaz Sharif or somebody coming on air and saying, "Hey, it was us," and the feed got cut off.
Oh, he said that
Somebody
we were the
said that. I
aggressors.
don't exactly remember who said that we went there or we did this.
Oh wow.
And then it got cut off, and that's all I knew at that point. Because 99, I'm also not that old.
Is there I'm going to be taking all sorts of tangents today. Is there a religious angle to these things?
There is always, right?
Is it?
I mean, that's the fundamental reason why we have a line
Yeah,
of
yeah,
control and we have a border,
yeah.
because here you have one, or I mean, it used to be all mixed up, the religion or the religious identity, and you'd have
Was mixed
I read
with
something
nationalism.
where when partition was happening, there were towns in which there was like 5,500 Muslims and 5,000 Hindus, so they would try to kill each other off so that they would have more majority in their towns.
What?
Yeah, this happened. This really happened. That they would go on, these killing sprees.
Both sides would do it to each
Both
other.
sides. I've never known who was more involved.
Just so they can get the majority, and so then one person doesn't have to move.
right. So they can join Pakistan or India.
Right.
I mean, this is not even including the princely states of Kashmir and all of that bringing into the picture. But even towns where it was close, this sort of stuff happened. Now I don't know who did it more, because like Pakistanis, if you watch the movies and all, it is portrayed as though like we were the ones who suffered, like
Right.
burnt trains, entire trains coming with everything charred. Everybody inside gone because they set fire to the trains and whatnot. But I never, did like a deep dive.
Right.
And then that's another thing I was thinking about today. Whatever you read on Wikipedia, and it's somebody else's. It's like third removed, fourth removed. It's become like a JPEG of the actual events. So it's not a like
A true account.
pixel, true account of what actually happened.
Right.
It's just that whatever side won, they had a narrative, and then historians can go and fight over all of it. But the truth is not on this end or this end; it's somewhere in between.
Right.
And then you need to. So I think back to your point to why a lot of people want to just hate Pakistan, or it's there in our side also. Like the word India or Hindu triggers a certain image of sometimes like could be anything but not Islam or not a Muslim, right? So it could be
Is the hatred, like, sorry to interrupt you, but I don't want to gloss over that point that when we were growing up, the hatred was, I felt sometimes very real. Like when India and Pakistan were having a cricket match, for example,
right.
it was seen as a symbol of our actual battle with each other, right?
Right.
And it's like ideological symbol of war, religious symbol of war in a sense, and people took it very personally. People, I mean, they spoke of it as though like we had won over. If India won the game match, right? Like there was a moral victory we could declare. Like fuckers,
right.
you deserve the loss.
Ball and bat with like all of the statistics and all of the chance involved in that,
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, doesn't matter. doesn't matter.
You are the bad guys, and we defeated you. Goddammit.
Right.
God.
So.
So what, let's give ourselves a little bit of background and backdrop to why we're having this conversation, or maybe a little bit of background. We don't have to get into too many specifics. I guess I'll draw the line and say, all right, we both are educated in our respective home countries of India and Pakistan. That's true. That's a true fact. We've come to America to pursue higher studies, and that's a true fact. And all of this you could amplify and play up, play down, whatever you want. I'll just kind of set this up. And then we went to whatever schools we went to. You went to a very good school. I don't want to name the name, but you went to a very good school. And then you graduated with a master's degree. I graduated with a master's degree. And we both have some shared history that we worked at a corporation that is a great corporation, and that's it. I'll draw the line there. Right. And we got to know each other as friends under various circumstances. And, there's also another element to this backdrop is that I also had a Pakistani roommate in my grad school.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if I told you this story.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
I've told you this story.
Right.
Mujib, it was his name.
Oh, no, then it's someone else.
Okay. Mujib was a guy, this is a little bit of a tangent again. Right. I had literally never moved out of my house until 2001. I was 22 years of age.
Oh, okay.
And so some might call it being a pussy, because you've never really witnessed life in a sense, like by your own. You're living with your parents,
Right.
right? And I never like earned my living until I was 22. In 2001, I straight came from my parents' nest to the United States, took an apartment with a bunch of like strangers. I was courageous in that sense. Like I didn't want familiar people. I was just like, you know what, very idealistic. I'm gonna live my ideals in life. I can blend in with anybody. So it was a bunch of Malayali guys and a Gujarati guy. And then this Mujib guy came. He said he wanted a room. He was looking for a room. He got kicked out of his previous room, whatever. And he seemed like a sweet guy. I was like, yeah, just join us. It'll be less rent for the rest of us, right? Mm-hmm. And what the mistake so he had this habit of eating a lot of fried food. And maybe you could talk to me about this. What is it with Pakistanis and fried food, man? You guys fucking love that stuff.
Yeah, so it's kind of...
I watch every YouTube video. It's like fried fish, fried chicken, fried beef, fried chapli kebab, fried this, fried that. Like, wow, you guys love fried food.
I would imagine it's food is one area where we have little constraints, as in, like if you went to Mexico, the food, tacos and whatnot, right? It's just very bare. It's not like processed to like fried and deep fried, and some of their dishes are, but most often eaten like
very
tacos
basic
and stuff. It's very basic. Right?
Yeah.
I think it's because of the alcohol. Because once you're under the influence, everything tastes pretty good. And so does tacos and all of that stuff. It's it's like once you get drunk, you
I think it tastes good, great, regardless.
Right, it tastes good.
Yeah.
But like somebody who had a lot of spice around, like in our region, they have a lot of spice, and now they want to try to transform food. So, excuse me. I don't know where I'm going with this.
It's all right.
The thing behind... So, one thing is...
Why do Pakistanis eat fried food?
Fried food, like deep fried food, you're saying?
Yeah.
So, deep fried food is eaten a lot in the month of Ramzan.
Okay.
When they're
just
fasting.
So you load up, calories.
Right. I mean, it's junk food essentially, right? But that's the time, and when monsoon is there or it's raining and... the pakode, they kind of go hand in hand with that kind of weather. So it's comfort food.
Okay, so in other times of the year, you guys don't indulge in so many fried food. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, not a lot, not a lot.
Okay,
but
thanks for clearing that up for me.
If you go back to the history, like samosas and all, right, where they came from? They came from Turkey or the Persian Empire, somewhere over there. That's where the origin of the samosas. And samosa is deep fried, this patty with all the fillings in it.
Can I take a quick, because you mentioned Central Asia, I want to clarify. I'm from Bangalore, South India, proper South India. You're from Lahore?
I'm from Karachi.
Karachi, Pakistan. It's a privilege to have a conversation with you, man. If this never sees the internet either, doesn't matter. I say that because, I feel like only in America we could have had this conversation and publish it. We could have had this conversation anywhere in Europe or other places too, but I'm just saying this country made it easier for me at least to emigrate, assimilate, and then nobody could tell us that we could not have a chat like this, right? Not that other countries, they don't allow you to, but it would be very stigmatic. We would have to hide. If this was in India, I don't know how freely you would walk around and say, I don't know, maybe you could. Maybe I'm overplaying it.
Right, I don't know. Sometimes I feel the same.
Anyway, I was going on a tangent. Mujib. Mujib moves in. I'm fond of this guy. He was a hilarious guy because he would talk about how random people in the gym would tap him on his shoulder and they would ask to go with him on a threesome. And this guy, I know.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it was the most bizarre thing because this guy was definitely very nerdy looking and everything. Okay. He had like thick glasses on, and I mean, people have a fetish for everything in this world. And I just found him hilarious because he would tell me all these. Which gym was this in Ohio?
Ohio. Okay.
Oh man, God bless America, huh? Right. No, but he would tell me this, and I was just like gradually developed a liking towards him, and we were good friends. And then my other roommates wanted to kick him out because
really? Okay.
he was deep frying food at like 2 in the morning.
Right.
Because he would come back late from university
Okay.
and then just get on to chapli kebab frying. And that really annoyed my roommates. And then they're like, we need to get this guy out. And I'm like, no, he's okay. He's sweet. Because I was trying to bat for him because I just thought of him as like he's a sweet guy.
Right.
They did not like it. And so Mujib came and told me, hey, you know what you could do if you don't want them to kick me out? Put me on the lease. And that way they can never legally kick me out.
Okay.
I fell for that. It was a rookie move.
Right,
This is the product of me not ever living outside of the house. I went and just straight up added him on the lease, and they found out they were not on the lease. First of all, we tried to save on money. They're like, "Oh, you signed this guy? I will show you what to." They moved out of the house, so me and him had to shoulder the entire rent. It was painful.
Right.
They really punished us, man.
Right. I can imagine. I don't know why they'd have it just because he's frying food. I used to wake up at 2:30 to make the before fast meal.
Okay.
When I was a student, and everybody would be sleeping in the hallway, like 4 guys sleeping, and I'm there in the kitchen with the lights on, and I'm trying to make something because I can't eat for the rest of 16 hours. So, and
do you still do that?
I don't.
You don't. Okay.
I don't anymore.
Okay.
My wife did it for some time, and now she doesn't. But
16 hours, no water, no food.
Sunrise to sunset.
Not a drop of water.
No, not a drop of water, and no.
My God, it requires such mental.
Right, because
tenacity.
Right. I mean, you can food is okay because your body gets used to it. Water is kind of not having water for that long. The last few hours are. It's not easy, and you're not mentally. You're just not there. You're just in some sort of
trance, and you're waiting for the drop of water.
Right.
By the way, sometimes I catch myself with the American accent, and it's okay. I'm just used to talking to Americans.
I don't know if I'm making it up or.
It's all right. I'm not making it up. I'm definitely married to an American, so I speak to her in a way that's understandable to her. Anyway, coming back to the story, Pakistani there, and I remember a Pakistani girl I used to talk to when I was in grad school, and she kind of liked me, but she would tell me the thing that her brother would kill her if she ever knew that she had a thing for an Indian guy. I was working out at the gym, and she apparently saw me, and she wanted to chat with me through a friend of ours.
Okay.
So, I mean, I had run-ins with Pakistani people like that. That's a couple of examples, but I had a couple more at CAT, I think, and then I met you, and I go on subreddits on
India,
India and Pakistan subreddit, and Pakistani guys seem chill. Of course, Reddit is a very filtered version of society. It's like mostly younger people, educated people. I get it. I get all that, but it shows me that people. I know I'm talking a lot, so stop me.
No, that's fine.
It also shows me that there is a section of society that thinks like everybody else, and they're great, and the Pakistanis are fucking awesome. Like, why can't we have a conversation? Whatever the differences are, whatever the friction that we have, so we'll leave that to the side. We can at least talk, and I feel like we are the silent majority. Most people,
could be.
I don't know what you think about this, but when I interact with my fellow Indian, the previous generation, my parents' generation, right? Most people had Muslim friends growing up.
Right.
And they were very cool with them. Right. We were cool with them. And there was no vitriol, there was no we didn't have hate towards each other. Right. So I have a feeling if we could go back to that time, or we could encourage that kind of a spirit amongst us, we can overpower all these kind of harboring negative feelings. I would never have anything against another person, period.
Right.
Let alone my neighboring dude from a neighboring country. Because we share so much history, number one, and we share a lot of common sensibilities. We laugh at the same shit.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, so I have seen different sorts of people in different geographies, like people in the Middle East, in Dubai and Saudi Arabia. They interact, and I spent a decade in Dubai.
Oh, you did?
I did, yeah. I was born in Pakistan, but then I just, my birth is there, but then I spent the first 12 years in Dubai.
Okay.
And then I went for my, high school and undergrad in Pakistan. So so I
How
spent
come?
like 8 years in Pakistan, 12 years in Dubai, and then I just came here in '08, and
So
I've been
Dubai
here
is,
since.
like, just to be clear, a very liberal version of Islam.
Right, Dubai is the rules are strict, but you're allowed your own space. In that, like you can't be drunk outdoors, but there's bars and there's clubs and the whole thing is there, and it's kind of
This was back in the 90s.
This is back in the 90s, yes.
And it was very liberal even back then.
It was because they were trying to attract all sorts of investments, and they had they would pay handsomely to expats. So they had like grades of expats, the Australians, the Americans, and the British. Then there is, the Desis or the Indians and Pakistanis or Bangladeshis who are foreign educated, or have a U.S. passport or one of those things, and then you have like the green and the red passports. People who are from Pakistan, India, and the native population was very less, like 10%, and 90% immigrant. So they would have you would never get to interact a lot with the natives or the Arabs, except for like festivals and such.
So you had a very would you say a very cosmopolitan upbringing?
I did, because my other classmates somebody would be from Canada, bringing bacon to class, and
Oh wow!
somebody would be from Australia, and somebody would be from Bangladesh.
Oh wow!
So
What age were you when you first interacted with these people from other countries?
Right. So,
What age were you?
I was, well, all the way from 2.5 to 12.
Wow, the formative years of your life.
Right, the formative years, and I think that's also one of the reasons I'm ready to mingle,
Okay.
or ready to see the other side, or ready to see. Whereas if I were brought up in just Pakistan, like 99.9% Muslim, maybe I'd have a completely. We wouldn't be having this chat, maybe.
Right.
Right, because it's something that it does to your brain, where you're less likely to share your core with others, or try to branch out and see what is out there. So that's
No,
I guess one of the major reasons, because we saw like burqa clad women, and then in the bikini, like Jumeirah Beach, like where the Burj Al Arab is now, like we have swum over there when there was nothing but just sand and tourists from Russia and whatnot. So it was like one of those all the Russian. There's a lot of black money that flowed into Dubai. I'm sure you know of whatever entailed. And there was a lot of, there was even human trafficking going on. And, because people are there to have fun.
Right.
People coming there. So, yeah, not all of it is legit going on. But, as long as it's behind closed doors, the government didn't really care. So yeah, I guess that's also where I draw some of my being able to converse with or try to find out about different people, and because I've known some of them or know different cultures.
Your worldview is definitely shaped by those interactions, right? Like when you see a person from another country, like this is kind of very similar upbringing I had, except I didn't move out of Bangalore. But my mother, for whatever reason, her upbringing was, she had friends from all over Europe, the USA, and because she was a counselor. And so the counselor crowd in Bangalore was mostly the elite upper crust, because only they could afford to talk about the problems of the brain and mental states and stuff. Like as far as counseling goes, like she was a member of this kind of like a very elite group of people, and it was an international membership. Like there are people from Canada, Netherlands, all of these places would join this organization. It was called TiSB, I remember. Anyway, so these people would visit us, or I would go to their workshops and stuff. And my mom would put us through, all these workshops where They were kids from America or other countries. And at the very least, you don't think of other people as other people in quotes. It's just that, okay, so they're just part of human life. And then, I feel like you develop this, I wouldn't call it open-mindedness, but it's also just this acceptance of like, okay, there's all kinds of people.
Right. See, I guess the fundamental over there is, even though we were interacting, there was this still, because you're a kid and, your parents tell you what's right or wrong, and you kind of trust them
right.
with, that knowledge giving ability. And so they tell you, basically that I remember I went to a birthday party when I was like 8 or 7. And it was, I forget the name of the guy, maybe Prakash or something like that,
okay.
Hindu guy. And
okay.
I ate like a leg quarter over there,
right.
And I came back and told mom, and she said, "Well, it's fine, beta, but you're not really supposed to eat what they cook. So you can eat what a person of the book has cooked. You can't eat from somebody who's a polytheist. You're not.
So Indians are considered polytheistic.
If you believe in multiple gods.
Not considered, like, that's how they frame us, Hindu people, as, hey, they're polytheistic people, they're kind of like haram.
Not harami is like illegitimate.
Okay.
Haram means forbidden.
Haram is
so
forbidden.
Harami is like an illegitimate child.
Okay.
And haram is like haram halal, that is like legal or prohibited.
Hey, wait, so let me clear this up. So harami means you're the child of, like, out of wedlock.
Yeah, out of wedlock. Yeah.
I
had a friend, he was like, ye kya likha hai, harami. It's like green color. Green is hara, right? Like they call it. So he's like, ye kya likha hai, harami.
By the way, can you clear this up for me? Why is the Muslim community, why do they like dark green so much? What is up with that?
Oh, it's the favorite color of Muhammad.
Oh, it is?
It is his favorite color.
It was just his favorite color, that's it, period. There was no other reason.
I would say there is a reason, because in the desert, green is very desirable.
How come?
Because it's the desert.
Oh, sorry.
Right?
Dude, this all makes so much sense now.
Right. Like
Holy
if
shit.
you ask Inuit, like hell is where it's really, really hot.
If you ask Inuit, what is your favorite color? Orange.
Right. So, I mean, I let's not, but
No, I mean,
if you go to Medina and all, like,
I hope you don't take
green.
it the wrong way. I asked this question out of pure curiosity.
Right. No, I agree.
I mean, by the way, just to clear things up, we are having these conversations from a very charitable point of view, right? Like, I want to never, I always, like, the fact that you said you grew up in Dubai is like, man, that sort of explains a lot to me. At the same time, I'm like, well, that also explains some other things to me in the sense that it's a matter of ideas then, right? Like, we getting along or not having an open mind and agreeable personality is a matter of ideas. Like, the people we interacted with as a kid, you grew some ideas in your head, like, okay, right, he's a Hindu, he's a Muslim, he's a Canadian, whatever, and it's okay. You just immediately sort of that layer.
I like that Hindu, Muslim, and Canadian. sorry. I know you're going over.
No, it's just like that illusion kind of shrinks more and more. Like, they are them, and then we are us. Like, we are all connected. We are the same part of the same fabric. I mean, and I don't mean to get all philosophical about this. It's like, that's the whole point of this, is that if I ask you why green, like, nobody, until this day, we always made fun of anybody wearing dark green in India, because there's like, hey, are you wink a sympathizer? Right.
You know, Pathan got a huge flag, right? The movie.
God.
You know why, right?
The saffron undies.
Right. Yeah, because of that. And I remember I had like a set of pens in my childhood, fountain pens, right? And it was like green, orange. So I took up the orange one because I liked that color. It was a nice color. And then somebody, like my dad, like he said, "Ye kya wala color tumne le liya hai?" And I don't mean disrespect, And then my mom said, "No, it's a beautiful color, son. You choose whatever color." Right? So it's you know it is a you know what is that you know a wrong thing to say.
Oh my God, it's extremely offensive.
Extremely offensive. Extremely offensive. I agree. It's an expletive, and it's extremely insensible.
You know,
and,
if we ever put this out on the internet, Wajjie, the thing will be like the death of my internet career will be this line.
or the birth, right?
Or the birth, you're
and
right,
death,
you're right.
right?
Yeah, thank you.
Reincarnation, yeah.
That's a good way of looking at it.
So,
Or
no,
could
I
be
mean,
the birth.
I don't believe that.
Of
To be
course
honest,
not.
Right?
Of
yeah,
course
of course
not.
not. But
Yeah.
somebody said that to me, and you know, we associate colors with certain things, right?
Yeah.
You know, right? And so I guess Christianity is white, then, right? The
I don't
cross, the symbol. There's symbolism. There is
Right,
colors.
right.
And
I think you're right. Like white, we had to wear on Thursdays. I went to a Catholic school myself, and there was some religious symbolism with that.
Right.
The white on Thursday.
purity, or it's a
Right,
sign of
right.
that.
Yeah.
And same with like Islam and green.
Okay.
That's a very common thing. We have begun celebrating Muhammad's birthday, which is one of the on the 12th of one of the months of the lunar Islamic calendar,
Uh-huh.
and like the whole towns and cities are illuminated green, and
Okay.
you have the whole. There is even a guy. As I can show you the meme, or we can post it.
Uh-huh.
In post is this guy holding a motorbike, what they've converted into an F-16,
Uh-huh.
like out of cardboard, and
Uh-huh.
it's like painted all green. They call
Uh-huh.
it, the mothering F-16.
Uh-huh.
And it's half humor, and it's like also kind of ridiculing those guys, because there's people who will wear the green turban.
Uh-huh.
In our place, those are called the tablighi,
Okay.
or the preachers, or the what is that?
Imams?
Proselytizers.
Proselytizers, okay.
Right. So the people who engage in proselytization, who go door to door and ask people to come for, either they have these gatherings, and they have their own social activity. Let's just say that.
Okay.
So they invite them to the path of the religion. If they're not praying, they'll ask them to join them in prayer, and ask for charity, and ask for attending their common social gatherings.
I think there's some part I missed in there. Why were you talking about these proselytizers?
Green turban. And
They would
green.
wear that.
They wear that. So
And by the way, these proselytizer people, are they quite widespread in Pakistan?
they are now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So they try to spread out into Saudi Arabia and all. The rest of the Middle East was having none of it.
Really?
Because, there is no formal preaching in Islam. You can't really go door to door and start, nagging people into submission, or to join Islam, or to become like here. They knock on your door and they will tell you
Right.
about Jesus
Right.
in the US. You're not supposed to have any of that in like a purer version of Islam, but
Okay.
then we South Asians, we like to take everything a step further, right? So we have taken it upon our shoulders to spread the word, and
Right. We'll go the extra mile.
right, and it's a lot of times it's a mix of guys need something to do also, right? So if there is sports venues are not available, or a good swimming pool is not available, then that's what they end up getting into, or their goodness of their heart.
You mean like if they don't have a physical outlet, this is what they're getting into?
I mean,
It's
everybody
kind of-
wants to belong to a group, right?
Is
At
it-
least most people, they want
I
to belong to
guess.
something bigger than them.
I've heard of that theory, and I struggle with it. I'm with you. Yes.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
they want to be bigger than them
Yeah.
their own, right? That's why
Yeah.
you have architecture, which is like huge architecture, you
Yes.
know, and a lot of religion and huge architecture goes hand in hand, because they build this massive X building, a
Edifices,
mosque or a
yeah.
temple, or something to evoke that feeling of, hey, this is bigger than
Enormity.
me, and I can
Yeah.
be part of it and be in that bliss, or revel
Makes sense.
in that presence.
Mhm.
So, and that's also like airport design. If you look at airport architecture, I mean, in the US, everything is like 12 feet height. But if you go to any decent rated airport, I guess, you'll have this massive.
Yes. Why
mess,
is
right?
it so?
Because it's, first of all, it's the human occupancy. There's like probably 10,000 people in there, so you need to have that amount of airspace.
Oh.
So that's one. Or you need to cycle air pretty fast.
Oh.
So that's one. Second is it's an airport and people are claustrophobic, so they will start fearing the plane. So you're trying to convey to them the feeling of openness and relaxation, so that they are not as hesitant to take that flight.
I see.
So I read up on, why are they so massive? They can save a lot of money,
Right?
A lot of money by making them tiny,
Like a regular building, yeah.
like a regular building, but they don't. They make them massive.
Okay,
and,
it makes sense.
Awe-inspiring.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's, I guess, architecture. A lot of times you'll see atriums and whatnot that are that scale.
Well, that's a very interesting point, Vajad. I gotta say, like when I see mosques this is temples too. They're massive temples.
Right.
Like
And
mosques
churches.
and amazing churches, right? Like, and so you look at these structures, and there's definitely a sense of awe, inspiration there. Like, because you're looking at, man, human beings are capable of envisioning amazing things, and we can make amazing things actually manifest in reality. Like, these are amazing structures that are meant as places of worship, and the cosmos is so big. I'm not trying to get all philosophical here,
right.
but it makes sense. Like, by the way, is it in Pakistan too that, do you guys have loudspeakers on mosques to call everybody?
Yeah, and the house values right next to the mosque are just because that loudspeaker. And we have had like cops show up and try to say, hey, you need to take those things down because there's like 8-foot loudspeakers and they're just blaring.
So even Pakistani Muslim people don't like it.
Right, they can't say it because, you can't say that.
Because they'd be anti-Muslim if you said that.
Right, but you can have, like, the cops would show up and they would confiscate that and they would try to encourage the local leader or the mosque leader, say, hey, you need to bring that down. And he would say, yeah, you can have all these, Bollywood songs blaring out at 3 a.m., which we have had that because there's big business in Pakistan is marriage halls.
Okay.
And, marriage venues.
Lavish weddings.
Weddings. So there's like entire rows of these venues, commercial plots.
Right.
Like no place to park, no place to, it's just a massive, like, fuck up. Like it takes 3 hours to get out of that place, and God help the people.
Why are you describing parts of Bangalore?
Like there's one right behind, like couple streets behind my house, but I know it might be similar.
Oh yeah,
right?
Hell yeah, man.
So there is no concept of that's overpopulation and small real estate. Not enough land available. That is bound to happen.
Right.
So anyway, where I was getting with that
loudspeaker,
is like, the loudspeakers. So they have fireworks. They have like bad karaoke singers. Poorly paid. Local artists trying to butcher Indian songs, wedding related songs and whatnot going, and all of that is like blaring. So the religious folk protest to that, saying like you won't allow this but you'll allow that.
Right.
So then it's all, but housing takes a huge hit right close to these mosque areas. And it's not like that in Dubai. For some reason, they use better audio technology, or they really they don't blare out.
Okay.
At least the call for prayer.
So I've never been to Dubai. Is that how it is? Like it's a generally quiet kind of like a Western city, would you say?
No, you'll still hear the call to prayer, but mostly, it's a huge mix, right? Dubai, you'll see though that divide in the service sector.
Class divide
is huge. You'll never see mass transit being taken by an Arab guy. You'll very rarely see that. At least when I was there, I didn't see that. Maybe I was there at New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
So maybe that was the wrong time to be there or something like that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you sure see that there is a much bigger class divide than in the US. Definitely.
Oh, US, I feel like when I compare the class divide in India, for example, to US, like, there virtually no class divide compared to India. If you calibrate yourself to the min and max in India, Oh my God! Like here, you can call. I mean, like the most stereotypical joke is that you can call your boss by his first name, right? In
Right.
America, but in India, it's like the guy below his immediate boss, his frontline manager, will have to say, "Sir." That just gives you an
Oh,
idea.
really? Oh, okay.
Oh yeah,
Still?
yeah,
Still?
dude. I work with my banker in India, and whatever he's probably 10 years younger than me. It doesn't matter. And he'll only refer to me by sir. And I got a little irritated. I was like, hey, just call me by first name. I don't need to be called sir. And he said, all right, sir, okay, okay, okay. And he couldn't help himself the next
Right.
time. He just
Right.
said, sir, again. And I stopped correcting him. It's just I don't know how it is in Pakistan. Is it the
Oh
same
yeah,
way?
it is. It is. It is. Yeah, it's all sorts of. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
It's,
was at a gas station and I remember, um, uh, my windshield was bad, so I just grabbed the thing, where nobody was. Usually somebody comes, some kid, some school.
this is in Pakistan?
Yeah.
Okay.
They would pay some kid to, just wipe.
Oh, yeah. Child labor.
Yeah, child labor, right? Wipe that off, the windscreen off, and I just took it to myself because I don't
Right.
really. And then the guy came and said, "Don't say it better." Like he's watching and he'll beat the shit out of us for having a customer do this. So I mean, the class divide is like,
Wait. What did he said to you? Don't do that?
yeah, don't do that because it's somebody's job and they are supposed to do that. So
Wow.
yeah, I mean that's how much division there is. And I had it's yeah, if you're wait staff, if you're anything like that, it's just, yeah, it's a terrible place to be.
I mean, if you're in the low, this is something I found out recently. I don't realize why we don't talk about it more about it. So there's four major kind of income classes in India. So there's the super rich, there's the middle class, there's the lower income class, and then there's abject poverty.
Right.
Abject poverty is between $2 to $10 a day.
Okay. Okay.
Lower income is 10 to 20. Okay.
10 to 20. Okay.
Middle is 20 to whatever, doesn't matter. And then
Right.
super rich doesn't matter.
Right.
But here's the key: $10 to $20 a day is lower income. $10 to $20 a day is what? $300 to $600 a month,
Okay.
right?
300,
Times 30.
right,
Just
right.
multiply straight by
Right.
30 days. So we're talking the cohort of people making 300 to $600 a month. That's not a lot of money.
Right.
Okay, that's fucking peanuts. Even in India, that's like, okay, you're living a hand to mouth, kind of, you're paying your bills, you're paying your rent, you're sending your kids to maybe an okay school or whatever. You just kind of rinse repeat the next month.
Right,
There is no
right.
savings and
Right.
fun and
It's
pleasure in life.
month to month.
You want to guess the size of this population in India?
Right.
It's mind blowing. It's 1. I read this up on. Well, I'll post the sources to this. It's some World Bank related site. 1.1 billion people. So India is 1.4 total. So the rest 300 million belong to the other three classes. But just think about it.
Right.
1.1 billion people are living between 300 to $600 a month. That is a lot of very, very, not poor people, but just hand to mouth existence without upward mobility.
Yeah. That's
Isn't that mind blowing?
right.
And sad at the same time. Anyway, so I read about that and I was like, it was so depressing to me because for the longest time I used to think middle class was 300 million. Somehow that number got into my head.
Yeah, I mean
It's 66 million. It's tiny.
right.
There's this guy again, I'm ranting on
No,
here.
that's
There's this guy called Deshbhakt on YouTube. His name's Akash Banerjee. And I feel like he does he's kind of controversial now because he's made himself a name. Like you're talking about, you say the right thing, your career will be over or it'll begin.
Right.
His career began.
Okay.
So anyway, what was I saying? He's very critical about these things, and he was saying out of a population of 140 crores of India, that is 1.4 billion. Okay, this was a video 8 months ago. Guess how many people actually pay taxes? It's 3 crores.
Oh, right.
You have to pick your fucking jaws off the floor.
Right. Yeah, that's what we were discussing in one of my university groups also, because inequality is front and center right now in Pakistan,
Right.
We had Tim Hortons open up.
Right. I read about
Yeah,
that.
and
Yeah.
like it was just long lines and everything, and people are like, "Hey, there is no economic crisis here, right?" And then we had, like a guy dive while fighting over wheat, which the army was distributing in these inlands, where the flooding has like pretty much destroyed everything.
Right.
So a guy died from heart attack. He was just fighting with another guy over a bag of wheat flour, right? So yeah, I mean I guess that's the inequality we are dealing with, and there's a lot of black money, unaccounted for money.
Right.
So on paper, like Pakistan has 2 billion or 3 billion in cash reserves now. That's it. And India's is like 620 billion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just yeah.
Some big number.
Last month at least. But what they're not saying is, there's a lot of money that flows and that has no
unaccounted.
Right. Unaccounted. Like they recently introduced the concept of being a filer, which is like a tax filing person, and my mom's not in it. I'm not in it. My dad was never in it because my dad was an expat. He paid taxes in Dubai, I guess.
So what, they give you an identity that you're an income tax filer or not?
Right. You get some perks. You start getting some, like you can have a dollar account if you're a tax filer. You can keep a dollar account. You even now if you're buying a vehicle, you need to be a filer.
Wait, I don't understand. What does this dollar account mean?
Like if you want to keep US dollar currency.
Are there a lot of people keeping dollars in Pakistan?
No, you keep in rupees, right?
But why is it called a dollar account?
If you want to keep your currency in dollars.
You can?
You can if you are a tax filer.
So there must be a lot of people in Pakistan who have ties with America. That's why they're saving in dollars.
Right.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean,
I didn't see
remittances is a big 10% of the GDP is remittances in Pakistan.
Okay.
10 or 8%, 12%. Something.
This was even when you were growing up in the 90s.
Yeah, this was like all from the not just from the US but from the Middle East.
Canada.
That's what happened, right? Yeah. You got a job in Dubai or somewhere over there, and then you went and slogged your ass off, and horrible work conditions, and you sent money back home to get your sisters wedded and your mom a stipend and whatnot.
So,
So I mean, inequality is like everywhere. Like one of my friends went, and we read the news and we are like, okay, Pakistan is broke and it's about to collapse. Right? They're about to run out of gas and they're about to run out of everything.
That's what I read. Yeah.
And on the other hand, like I have friends who are saying, all the shopping malls and all the eateries are full. Like people are out there, buying like what I used to buy. I tell you honestly, like the trousers used to be 200 rupees back in 2004, and so if you went to the wholesale place, you'll get it for 200 rupees, 400 rupees. Now they are buying, and dresses, women's, uppers would be 400, 300, 500 rupees.
Right.
Of course, you went to a proper boutique, you'd pay a lot more, but now they're like 15k, 20k starting, and that's not even getting into like wedding attire, all of that. So But people have money, and I don't know, like I don't splurge that much on clothing in the US. Like we Americans are like not, either we are, like a lot of people are. I'm not saying everybody.
You're saying we Americans because your identity is fundamentally American at this point. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, at this point I would relate more over here than back home.
Okay.
I'm
just making clear.
Although I'd like to have a hybrid of sorts where I'm keeping the good parts.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to collect good parts.
Yes.
I've collected some bad parts.
I think that's the best way to be. I mean, I don't mean to derail you.
Right.
I think that's a really like a smart position. It only makes sense, and it's like, of course, it's less divisive, less polarizing. Therefore, you enjoy more. It makes sense because then you like both people from both, and then you like ideas from both, and then you're just taking the best from both, and then it's double the fun because you just have good from here, and then you multiply those things. And if you have that kind of closed off mindset, then you're just kind of leaving a lot on the table.
But you lose everybody's respect also when you do that. I've done that, and I've lost a lot of people's respect because they're like, hey, you're not even loyal to your own.
Yeah, right? Dude, a buddy of mine used to call me Kesu.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if he ever listens to this, he would call me Kesu. Kesu means Kesu Firangi.
Okay, so
Do you know what Kesu Firangi is?
the Ferangi I know is like the the red
I don't know if
face.
he was a Hindi speaker, so he would often call me this thing because you were kind of a sellout to American culture, right?
Right. Yeah,
And
I just forwarded somebody Frank Sinatra today is saying, like he was like, I want to listen to something mellow. He sent me a ghazal, Jagjit Singh, and I sent him, and I love you so by like Kumo or somebody.
Yeah.
It's like Frank Sinatra style, all the 60s style, and I love you so. And he's like, what the fuck did you just send me? I listened to it and I'm like, yeah, this is not what I wanted to listen to, buddy. And I just wanted, like people to share what's on their playlist. Because I go to YouTube and it's all this, set algorithm, not set algorithm, but it kind of distracts me into weird spaces. And it's what is, I guess, more search engine optimized stuff. And opposed to, I could have heard like some new genre and, liked it. So that's what my intention was. And people... just they not everybody, and it's like a taste in music.
Right.
Is unique to everybody.
Yeah, but just like poo-pooing you because you like you have an American taste bud or whatever. It's like, really, who cares? That was one of the things he would often say that, and I remember back when he used to say, this guy used to call me that, right? I used to think in my head, oh man, really? I must be a sellout, right? Like I can't hold on to the roots of my culture.
Morals.
I'm not representing my country properly. Like I'm in some sense I'm compromised. I'm just like brainwashed or whatever. And then as time goes by, you realize, oh my God, like no, that's just a good place to be because then I'm enjoying everything from everywhere. That just multiplies with each other. Right. On a related note, I gotta tell you, like my sister, man, like she lives in Texas. This is shocking to me. Okay, she would probably fall into the category of, I don't know, more like oriented towards India. Like I asked her, hey sis, she's been living there for 20 years. Like, hey, what's a good Tex-Mex place here? Like, this is Houston, Texas, man. It's got some fucking awesome food. Dude, she did not know one name. I don't know. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, that's the part. So. Yeah, I mean, I hate being... the problem is you kind of are outcast in a way. Whereas, like...
outcast would mean somebody else outcast you.
Right. And not tell you that, this is happening. But they would, meet behind your back and everything. And talk behind your back. Or, and say, yeah, this guy is...
He's not belongs to our tribe.
Right, he does not belong to our tribe, and I've sampled the whole place. I've seen what happens is in one group and what happens in another group, and I've tried to say, hey, I'm just here to learn the good parts of your culture.
What are you talking about?
And, yeah, and I just would like to enrich myself, whether it's food, whether it's music, whether it's behaviors, or whether it's
ideas,
perspectives, or philosophies about life or death, or I'm all ears. If of course I demand evidence, but I'm an open-minded person,
right?
And if you have something to tell me, then I'd love to hear it. But so like people would somehow then say we shouldn't let our kids near him because he will corrupt their minds. At least that's the perception I got. Maybe everybody's just fucking busy.
No. I heard this from my buddy who lives in Jersey, and him and me share similar, ideas about things. Like we were in grad school. He was telling me he has a kid, he has a son, and he's 5 or 6 now, and his son doesn't get invited to other Desi's parties because this buddy of mine, his name is Maddie. Maddie invited a bunch of black kids from his neighborhood.
Oh, really? Okay.
And so that was a big social boo-boo.
Right.
Like, oh, you, how dare you, Right. And then he's telling me, like, dude, I'm not the one paying the price. My poor son, who's 5 or 6, he's innocent. He doesn't even know what these things mean.
And honestly, for Desis who cry so much about racism, they can be one of the...
They can be?
Boy, they are. I'm trying to mellow things here, man. Tone things down. So, it's just, I'm not like...
hey, I thought this was the no holds barred conversation.
Right.
Look, let's take the pressure of ourselves. If this never sees the internet, who gives a fuck?
Right.
I feel like some things are good level setting exercises. This is good level setting. If we decide to put it on, no, but to the point that you're 100% right. This is the thing we talk amongst ourselves, like me and my Indian friends, for example, or Hindu friends, for example. It's like we'll acknowledge privately, like, man, if Americans only came to know how racist we are, they will lose their fucking shit, right? Like, because colorism is a big deal in India. Casteism is a big deal. Like, people pay a lot of attention to classism is a big deal in India. Like, oh, how dare you talk to me like that? Oh, you should not even come into my field of view. Like, I talk even like in Tamil Nadu, right, the state neighboring to mine, a very enlightened set of people, I would say. In my opinion, they're one of the most enlightened people of all Indian states. Yeah, they've had a long philosophical history and all of that.
Right, Portuguese and everything.
I don't know about that, but they're just like intellectual movements. Tamil Nadu has had a lot of intellectual movements where they've affected people's thoughts and they think for themselves. You could talk to an average Tamilian person, you'll see there's a difference in the way they think. Anyway, I don't want to get into all of that. But anyway, the point is that in movies they'll show, even to this day, especially in a village setting, when a worker in the field comes to the owners, in the presence of an owner, he puts his arms around his shoulders like this, in a lot of cases, and they bow. Either they bow or they squat.
Oh, really? Wow.
With those arms like that. This is not far-fetched today, too. That's the way it's probably in Tier 3 and villages on. But movies are portraying it because that's what they do. They put a mirror on society, right? Movies are not like... These are not fantasy things that they're talking about. And I've seen it in my own household. I'm ashamed to admit, but we grew up around maids, and maids would never sit on a sofa with us.
Right. Yeah, that's a very I don't know what to say about that, because we have exploited child labor also.
Yes, us too, me too. Yeah.
Right, and
not me personally, but my parents.
Yeah.
Let me clarify that.
The thing is, like, we had like like 5 years ago the trend died out, but I think it's still there. But yeah, you can have a kid help you out around the house. He won't be going to school. His dad's broke. You pay him a stipend of $20 a month or $100 a month.
Right.
And he would be there for you. You can send him on grocery runs. You can make him clean the car, clean the dishes, do the housework, whatever, right? So... And I went, and my dad had just come back, and he had nobody. None of the kids were they were all in the US. So he had no help whatsoever. So his uncle or somebody asked him to, hey, there's a kid over here, and you can give him a stipend, and he'll help you out. So he'll get bread, eggs.
He can survive.
Yeah, he can survive.
Yeah.
But it's a horrible thing to say, but.
Do you realize how many people go to bat for that position, by the way, Wajjie? They'll say, I mean, if anybody is going to ever listen to this, the first line of reasoning of people who engage in that sort of thing, they're saying, if I don't give that person X, that child, I don't give them, they're going to be on the street begging. So what a weird moral position to take. Like, really? Because there are other moral positions you could take. Like, we could say something like, as a society, first of all, we should absolutely... repudiate. I mean, we should be like, this is a hard line to draw. We should never let a kid have to work. We should outlaw it. Number one.
Right.
Like, that is the morally, right thing to do, in my opinion. Number two, now you start working on solutions as to why this kid is not going to school, for example. How do we not have a Department of Children's Affairs who's not taking these people under their wing, because these are innocent children not being asked to be born on this planet. They're just pop out by the accident of birth, unless you believe in rebirth and all that. They pop out by the accident of birth, and then they have to live a life of indentured servitude, right? Like, they have to, like, this person, this kid, whoever you're talking about, or I also had a story like that, their only means to existence was to work as a 7-year-old, as an 8-year-old, as a 9-year-old. That's appalling. And again, like, people say to me, like, oh, well, that's your Western sensibility. No, that's not. It's just like, even when I was in India, I would bring this up. My dad, let me just say it. And then that would be the argument. And it just never felt right. Because on the other hand, as a middle class privileged little prick that I was, I'm fucking having a good time. This, and my maid would be sitting on the floor eating
Right.
while I'm sitting on the table having a privileged fucking life.
Right.
Like,
Right.
all of these things bug me, but there would always be some bullshit explanation behind it.
Right. Right.
And then you come to America, and then like I was telling the story years ago to my old boss Doug, who we both know, and Doug, he died laughing. He's like, none of what you're saying could ever be true. You're making all this shit up. He thinks it's the funniest joke I've ever said, and he could see the sincerity in my eyes because I had just remorse in my eyes. Like, my eyes would well up. And he's like, I get what you're saying because I hear horrible stories about the third world, this and that. Like, but then it's just like, when are you going to atone for your sins? That was always his like line to me.
Right, okay.
And it was always funny because it's so beyond the pale of reason in America, something like that. It's just fucking funny.
Right,
It's like,
it is.
I can't even like grieve about this.
Right.
It's like so wrong. How the fuck are you guys putting up with this?
And it's not something like you can fix by yourself, because